Greetings, nerds. This is Tina Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont, and with me, as always, is our Mr. Producer, Will Polk. How are you doing tonight, Will?
Doing very well, Sarah. How you doing this evening?
I'm doing good.
That's
Doing
good.
good.
That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
so I'm like going through a lot of TV show binges right now.
Oh, cool.
So I don't know if you've heard about this show. It's not a Will show. It's definitely more my lane. But on Amazon Prime, there's this new show called Motorheads
No,
with
I haven't.
Ryan. Yeah, it's with Ryan Phillippe. He's like the notable actor in it. Um, and it's kind of a it's yes, it is a teen drama. Um, and but they it's about a town and some history, and a lot of the adults of these kids are wrapped up in a somewhat of a mystery from when they were children. And
Hmm.
so you have they do a good job, I have to say, of the writers of paralleling the present and like that idea that history repeats.
Hmm.
I kept like this has probably been out for a month now, if not maybe
Okay.
3 weeks. And they released all of the episodes at once. It's 10 episodes, about an hour each episode. So it was fairly long, and I was good. I didn't binge it.
Oh,
like
wow.
like well, I had some stuff come up last week, so I didn't
Yeah.
like straight binge, but I did get through it within a week.
Okay.
Because everyone kept saying the ending was really good. And I'm gonna say this. That
Should I put a
ending.
spoiler? Should I
What?
put a spoiler? Should I put a spoiler alert warning up or
I
not?
haven't decided yet. I haven't decided
Okay.
yet.
Okay.
So I did not see it coming. I did laugh when it happened. It is a good ending, but at the same time, I'm just like, that got dark. That was a bit excessive.
Hmm.
So I don't know. But yeah, I can see why there was a lot of talk about it, and I'm glad I wasn't spoiled or anything. It was decent, and I do hope, and I think it will be getting a season 2 for sure.
Cool.
Especially since man, I'm blanking on The Summer I Turned Pretty is wrapping up its series this year.
Hmm.
So Motorheads will be like the Amazon's continued teen drama.
Got it.
So, like, as a replacement, makes sense.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are plenty of female characters in that show too. It's not completely a male driven. I mean, the leads are technically two twins, even though
Okay.
they arguably don't look alike. Bothered me. I was like, like you could get some more.
So were they supposed to be identical twins or were this
Well,
fraternal twins?
I mean, one's a boy, one's a girl. You can't get too
Yeah.
identical with that, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I was also just like, can we get like some like there should be some features that
Mm.
are similar. And to me, I was just like, but but I can tell why they got casted in the
Okay.
sense. So I did that, and then um unknowingly, because I was on the fence about starting it at all, I binged this weekend Ginny and Georgia season 3.
Okay.
And I think it was sometime last year when I binged the first 2 seasons. I was late to this show.
Mm.
The third season is the best season so far.
Okay.
Um, and I I just want to say, if anybody watches the show, what you're hearing about Max is actually absolutely correct. Maxine deserved better. I was watching this the whole time, and I was just like thinking to myself, what did she do something to piss off the writers?
Mm.
Like,
Wow.
because out of nowhere, like she's quote unquote Jenny's best friend, and for the 2 seasons, and arguably throughout this this season, you see that. You see like her undying. And boy, was Ginny just like basically told her, we're not that close anymore. And it's like, okay, I'm confused. I think a lot of viewers are leaving this season like Team Ginny,
Yeah.
and then, spoiler alert, it's Joe's baby, okay? I don't wanna hear any of this nonsense about it being the mayor's baby, okay? It's Joe's baby, and if they don't do that, then they wanna stretch out the series. Okay. 'Cause we know Joe's endgame, so whatever. Anyway,
Mhm.
so I've been doing that, but on top of this, on top of all this, Will,
Yeah.
like, I'm telling you, I'm going through binges right now.
I hear yeah, it sounds
I've
like it.
I've
I have not been binging
finally
anything. Yeah.
I finally have found this year a very decent, and I'm knocking on wood because I don't wanna jinx it, K-drama,
Oh,
called An Unknown S or Our Unknown Soul on Netflix,
okay.
and I like it because it is basically 2 twin girls, women, I mean, they're in their 20s, their later 20s, so they're women. The identical twins,
Okay.
basically played by the same actress. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
they switch places
Mhm.
because both of them have their own different struggles. And it's just following this year of them switching having swapped places and places for, reasons, and then it flashes back to their childhood because there's some drama back then, and so I'm really enjoying the parallels between past and present, and
Yeah.
also the actress is doing a pretty good job because I can tell who is who. I mean,
Mhm.
I know who switched places, of course,
Okay. Of
but
course.
in the past, it's harder because they haven't swapped places, but I can tell who is who based off of
Mhm.
little nuances, and it's not played by the same actress. Thank God they didn't do that. Um, it's played by a different actress, and yet I do feel like both present and past, the actresses do a good job about subtle nuances between these 2 twins because the characters themselves are different.
Okay.
So, it's really interesting, and there are a few characters who can tell them apart, and then there's a few characters who can't. So, it's, yeah, I don't know, I really like it, and then on top of that, I'm taking my time with that one,
Okay.
but, um, I have it on my back burner because I keep hearing about it, and from what I've seen, it looks really good, but I'm going to definitely be checking out, Good Boy, which is another K-drama, but it's on Amazon Prime,
Hmm.
starring Park Bo-gum, who so I'm looking forward to that because it's from what I understand, it's about some ex-athletes who somewhat find themselves in the police.
Huh.
The police, and it's just like they're dealing with this not good enough type mentality. I don't
Mhm.
know, but I like I said, I've yet to watch a single minute of it. I've only seen a few different things that has me like put it on the list. And hey, for all I know, it could be a no-go after the first episode because we all know how many times that happens to me,
We do.
specifically with K-dramas. So
Yep. Yep.
so yeah, I've just been going through a lot of binges about like I felt like arguably it was a slow start of the year.
Yeah.
In
It was.
June, I wasn't expecting this much content,
Yeah.
but I just like one thing after another. So,
That's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I know you haven't I know we haven't done the what are we watching segment in a while. Because yeah, you're right. I mean, you really early, we had a regular rotation, but nothing really was striking your fancy as far as to check out. But now it sounds like you have like gotten several well, finished several things and got a couple things in the queue will carry you forward for the rest of the month, and then some.
Or I will just, now that I've spoken it out into the universe, I will just, like, put it off longer.
You're like, yeah, I'll watch this tonight. Eh. Yeah,
Do I want to? So, I mean,
yeah,
because I could have started Good Boy this weekend. I could
yeah.
have continued on, like, I'm behind technically with Unknown Soul, but
Mhm.
there's something about the difference between starting a new show
Yeah,
and then going on, like, with Ginny and Georgia. I'm in season 3. So I'm like,
yeah.
I know what I'm gonna get.
You know
I
what
know
you're
what
getting.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
exactly.
get.
Yeah, yeah,
And I can play it on the background, like, I know how I am, like, I know it's gonna be a binge, it's gonna be plain, I'm gonna be able to do other things.
yeah,
K-dramas,
yeah.
that's one, also another thing, because I don't speak the language, I have to be paying attention. So, it's
But yeah,
very
there is
hard.
that little there is that little thing. Yeah, subtitles.
Yeah, yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
and then it's like, "Oh, just do the dubbed," and it's like, "No, no, no,
I can't
please,
do that.
I
I can't
can't."
do that. No, no, I
I've
can't either.
never been
Yeah,
able to.
no,
The
it just messes it up. I remember I was watching Lupin, and I think maybe the first season, and if I was like I put on the dub version, and then I was like, oh hell no, let's go back to the French. I mean, yeah, because it's just, and it's same like speaking of binges, we finally got back to, because of the studio. I went back and started watching, as I mentioned it last week, Call My Agent, the French drama. It's also on Netflix and has spun off, and so I started watching it again this past weekend, and just like, this is such a good show. And but to your point, speaking of languages and stuff, I was like, oh yeah, but I always just watch it in the original French and just have the subtitles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, the only show I've ever watched with dubbed happened last year when I randomly on Amazon put on Maxton Hall because I kept
Mm,
hearing about it,
mhm,
but I didn't know it was foreign language.
hmm,
So for whatever reason, completely by accident, my Amazon Prime knew I didn't speak German, or
huh,
I'm sorry if it's Dutch. I'm technically not really sure. I'm pretty sure German, but I could be
all right,
wrong.
all right.
So, or watch, it's probably some other, it's definitely it's definitely not English, and it's not British, but it is over there in Europe, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. But for whatever reason, like, I didn't know it was foreign language. So I'm watching the first episode and I'm hearing these voices and I'm like, every now and then I'll be like, "Is this, like, did they screw up with
There's some
something?"
ADR here.
Like, I
Yeah.
don't understand.
Is my internet like the stream like
Right.
dragging? Yeah.
Right, exactly. So,
Yeah.
here's the funny thing, as soon as I figured it out, I then turned on subtitles. I think I might have lasted 1 episode, maybe not even an episode, and then I switched it back to dub because here's my logic.
Okay.
The storyline of Maxton Hall, it's teen
Mhm,
soap. I
mhm,
don't need to be paying attention.
right. Yeah.
So I, as much as it, like, is bothersome, I'm not gonna be paying attention through most of it anyway, so
Yeah.
having hearing the and by midway through, I got used to it, like,
Mhm,
clearly, I was just like, "Oh, I've gone through 1 episode, might as well go through the whole thing."
yeah.
Um, it's similar to what I'm finding when you hear a song in a
Mhm,
language, right?
mm,
Okay? In a different
okay.
language.
Mhm,
Now, and then you hear that song, that same song, there's the English version or whatever language is your first language, right?
right.
Now, what I'm finding is that my preference, and a lot of people have said this online, is that whatever language you hear the song in first, that is the language, that is the version, that is always the true version of the song. and anything else, it just doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
so
You're right.
interesting. It's so
Yeah.
interesting.
It really is. It really is. Just to show my Gen X sensibilities here, it's like 99 Lift Balloons. When I heard the German version, the original, I was like,
Mhm.
yeah. And then I heard the MTV dubbed version. I was like, nah, nah.
Uh-huh.
Gotta have the original. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I hear a Korean version of a song,
Mhm.
but what they don't tell you is a lot of K-pop artists also do Japanese songs.
Oh,
Okay,
I did not know.
original Japanese songs, and then, because it's all about the money, then
Yeah.
later they'll do the Korean version. If I hear the Japanese version first,
Mhm.
that is the correct version regardless of the Korean version. It
Yeah.
always sounds different. And
Yeah.
there are actually, like, my preferred version, and then sometimes lately we get, like, the Korean version, the Japanese version, oh, and the English version. I hardly ever listen to the English versions of these songs. Unless, like, that is the initial version, like Seventeen's
Right.
Darling.
Okay.
Um, I'm pretty sure I don't think they've ever released that as a Korean version, though. I'm pretty sure, but it's just, and then, I saw on TikTok other people who listen to that kind of music have also said the same thing, that they never realized it, but it always goes back to, like, that first version you hear.
Mm. Mhm.
Because the words are different suddenly, and
Yeah.
you're like, you're probably saying the same thing in a different language, it just doesn't flow the same.
It doesn't flow. Yeah, it really doesn't flow. It's like, yeah, it's the original cut of anything, and then or even like, it's like when someone, just even in the same language, but this covers a song,
Right.
and and the cover just never captures that essence of the original. I mean, yeah, it's just, I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, and it's ironic considering we're about to talk about the studio, and we get into that whole idea of original and art and everything.
Mhm. Mhm.
But to start, like, the second episode, The Oneer, where the filming of an intricate sunset shot becomes complicated by a Matt set visit. Um, I kept thinking I was looking forward to this episode,
Yeah.
and then it started. And it's a good episode. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. But it's really hard for me to watch a one shot and not immediately go to adolescence and just
I
feel
know
like
what? I put that in my notes. I totally did the same. I thought the same thing.
it's like you're watching it and you're like, "This is good." If it had come out before adolescence, I probably would be responding to it a lot differently. But when you see the workmanship, and not that they did anything bad, it's just that
No.
you you're starting to understand with this show, like, there's going to be a concept, and
Mhm.
then they're going to, like, really bring that concept to life. So the fact that this is called The Oneer because Matt's obsessed with wanting to watch this one shot occur for a movie they're working on, and it's all shot. The irony is that it's all shot in one take, which is clever, and then especially
Yeah.
towards the end when you start when the interruptions really start to escalate between
Oh
him
gosh.
interrupting the scene by wanting to talk to Greta, to them finding out that the car was parked in the wrong spot, which was a great callback because I had forgotten about that by the time we got there. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I'm just like, I can't because
Oh.
I don't know if I'll ever look at a one shot again and not compare it to adolescence.
Yeah. So I thought, like I said, I thought about adolescence, and I think there was maybe it was some other things that we've talked recently where there's been like the one or the one shot, but you're right. I mean, it definitely, from the comedy of errors, and Matt just wanting to, to be there for it, and then and also like all the other things around him showing up, as far as like the publicity, as far as and everything, with um with the car. I mean, like, as soon as the car, like, since they like parked there, and then when the show ended, the episode ended, I was like, they're not going to be able to finish. That's going to be the crescendo of all the fuck ups, because they parked the car right there because they were already running late, and so just, just from the get, everything was just like, just
What
messing
was
up. And yeah.
what was the best fuck up out of all of them in this episode?
Oh God, um the car, man. So the car is definitely one of my tops.
Really? Even though you had
But
predicted
but
it?
but it's still, the execution of it just worked
Okay,
beautifully. It
got
was
it.
the execution, yeah.
Got it.
Because you had all these, because of course you had Matt. I will say, I did like the one where he, like, crashed and like busted his face.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
yeah,
what
that was
I
another.
liked what I liked about that one
Yeah.
was that I, as an audience member, was like, they did a really good job with that one when he
Mhm.
comes out of the bathroom or wherever they were talking,
Yeah.
and or wherever he was talking with Sal, and immediately sees Greta, and I'm, as an audience member, still like, okay, everything's fine. And then so it catches me off guard too when they're like,
Yeah.
he just interrupted. Like, that execution, I thought, because a lot of the other stuff did seem a bit like, especially with the not the cigarette, but the
Mm.
blunt. I was
The
just
blunt.
like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
see where that's
Uh,
going.
Yeah. I just love that he was just trying to get, he just kept trying to give Sarah the note, about the blunt. And then also, like, early on in the episode, whenever they were trying to set up the others, his executive studio, his own special, like,
Mm,
thing to get
mhm,
get him away from her so she could just focus on the shot. Because I mean, the thing about the winner here too was, they only basically, whenever, as soon as she when Sarah, Poley, and the director of photography started talking about, they will only have enough light for,
mhm,
for a couple shots, I was just like, oh boy. I was, I was like, I was like, the shot's going to get messed up somehow, some way. They're going to run out of light, and then
right,
it's just
right.
like, it just kind of just spiraled from there, because it was just. But but the other one too was whenever he was, whenever he was with trying to whisper, and she and Greta could hear the whispering and stuff, and it took her out of the scene.
Mhm,
I mean, it was just so many things about why, and I've got the little still up here, like Catherine O'Hara, like, character, Patty looking at Matt like, you schmuck. I mean, just go already, because you're just messing everything up. But he was just so, like, whenever Sarah, like, told him, agreed with him about the blunt, and then Greta also agreed with it. It was
mhm.
just like, oh, he's like, I'm helpful here, and it just, like, it was just encouraging him to, like, just be just a pest there, and it just messed everything up. But I just
I
really, yeah.
the whispering one I thought was the weakest
Mhm.
out of all of them. That and the blunt, arguably, for
Yeah,
everything that you just said about
yeah,
that,
yeah,
because those were the most foreshadowed. But looking back on it now, it's a good, it's a good episode to follow out the pilot and
yeah,
to also then be followed up by the note, because what we're seeing is it between the winner and the note is more they delve more into his ego, and you would think, coming off of the pilot, like, he doesn't have that big of an ego or
yeah.
anything, because he seems like, oh, I just want to make really good movies. But with the
See,
note,
yeah,
he he finds himself in this position where he has to do his job, Will.
yeah, yeah,
He has to do his one job, which is to be honest to a filmmaker, and in this case, it was Ron Howard, about a movie that went on way too long and had this extra, what was it, like an extra 30 minutes, 40 minutes?
Yeah, it was the
Gone.
yeah. I mean, I loved it. Yeah, it was, I love it. That was just so great because it's like one last thing about the one or two, which which how meta this show is. It you know, so Sarah Polley, she she directed Women Talking, and it was no, she was a writer of Women Talking, if I recall. But she also was an actor, and but how like the thing that I really appreciate about this show is like all the things that go into the relationships of Hollywood. And so in real life, this was like her first acting gig in like 17 years. She did it as a favor to Seth Rogen because they're good friends and stuff. And that's another thing that I think this show has like also the really gets into some of the relationships that people have, whether it's good, bad, or in between, and it really comes to a head. We see that also with the note, as far as just how a good or bad experience can like basically like color your professional outlook on things, like, and how hard it was for Matt to give Ron Howard this note.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean,
um,
yeah.
oh, no, you go ahead.
No, no, but I was just, yeah, because I mean, the thing about the note in particular, so because and I guess Matt was just so worried about ruining the relationship with Matt, with Ron Howard, because he thinks back to like a beautiful whenever a beautiful he was a lowly PA, and he was like first giving his thoughts at a screening um about A Beautiful Mind, and he was like wanting to give the this you know the suggestion about Paul Bettany's character.
Right, right.
um yeah,
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 it
it's
goes into
imaginary, yeah, yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, it's so yeah, so he gave a note as a young PA to Ron Howard, and, the reaction to that of, Ron Howard cursing him out prevents him from, in his, present day, wanting to give a similar note, albeit the correct note, ironically,
Yeah.
to Ron Howard about this specific new movie that he's working on. But again, like I was saying before, it's all about his ego
See,
because
yeah,
okay,
yeah, go ahead, go ahead. Finish your thought. I had a thoughts about the ego too.
okay. Well, now I'm curious about what your thoughts because I thought I'd started, but I'm confused.
Yeah. So, well, what I was going to say, I don't know if it's so much ego. For me, it is a bit of ego, but it's also a lot of insecurity.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Insecurity, ego. Yeah. Yeah. So why do you, I guess, well, are we gonna debate about that? I don't know. Um, yeah,
Well, he has an ego, I mean, because like it's like for example, going back to the suggestion with the blunt and the oneer. I mean, whenever
right.
he yeah,
He has he's a bit naive, I
yeah,
guess. So yeah, yeah. But because he thinks he's doing the right thing.
hmm,
Like the irony between this episode, the note and the oneer, is that he was doing all the wrong things unknowingly.
yeah,
I feel like with this episode, it's more about ego. Like, yeah, it's insecurity, but he doesn't, you have to remember, he doesn't think that Ron Howard remembers it.
right,
He honestly, and they set that up perfectly where he
hmm,
honestly feels like, because everyone else is telling him that, "Oh, Ron Howard likes you. Oh, this." And he himself feels like, "Oh, I'm in this good spot. I don't have to go back there." Unfortunately, though, I have to give him this note, and I don't want to because this guy likes me, and
Mm.
I don't want him to then, like, and obviously it does, like, to then remember what I said before, because in the past it was the wrong note, in the present it's the right note.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, the yeah, it's an insecurity because he well, I don't know. I don't know if he really thinks that it was the wrong note to give at the in this episode, like when he was younger.
Yeah.
There's too many notes.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it was. I mean, well, what I say, because he's trying to, and it goes back to like the pilot with the studio president, the owner. I mean, he's not, he's trying, he's wanting to like have a blockbuster, and so, and he's fresh in the job. All the stuff that happened with Patty, as far as how, how she got ceremoniously fired, and so he's not really, he's very insecure in his position as studio head, and and I love the way they like set up this the episode, because they go into there, they go into the screener, and they had that great moment, Anthony Mackie, you got Franco, and they're like, oh yeah, yeah, and then like you said, it's just like it goes into the ending that never ends, like we've which again is just a great reference on like run times, and how movies just don't end these days. So and then so whenever it was time to give the note, like he was, like you said, I mean, he was still thinking about the chewing out he got by Ron before, trying to like get everybody else to like to do the dirty work for him. But at the end of the day, it was the right call. And even like, it's funny when Anthony Mackie even came into the room and he was just like, this scene sucks. I mean, everybody is in agreement, but at the end of the day, they were so afraid of pissing off the filmmaker, um, because, like you said, I mean, it was just set, because at
because
the end
they're
of the
all
day,
insecure.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
like, there's always an insecurity that's overcompensated by an ego,
yeah, yeah,
and that power struggle within Hollywood and all
mhm,
of these different players of this game.
yeah,
Um, for Matt, it's interesting that you brought up in the pilot him being insecure in his job, because there's the other side of that pilot and the other version of Matt, where Matt, like, got the meeting with Scorsese,
yep,
managed to try to get on track the movie he wanted to get.
mhm,
Like, I don't know if it's insecure. Like, yes, it's there's aspects of insecurity, but
yeah,
I think what they're doing with this character and this person, with this character, is that a balance of him being a very naive, I want to be the one who determines what films to make, and then
mhm,
having all of these different, whether it be the real, arguably the real head of the studio, telling him what movies he will choose to make,
mhm,
or Maya saying, "I can't market this. You got to come up with something better."
yeah,
Or Sal being like, "You got to think more in this lane."
yeah,
Or Patty basically kind of mentoring, but also just telling him he's a shithead every five
yep,
seconds. Like,
yeah,
there's all of these other forces that I think are building more of the insecurity, because you also don't go from being a PA all the way to the head of a studio without developing an ego. I mean, that when
yeah,
when he comes up with this idea, like, oh, yeah, I purchased that script for 5 million or $10 million, because
yeah,
A, he could, and B, then he masked it with this lie. Like, I think there is a lot of ego, and I think that that's why it was a good scene when, quote unquote, the real Ron Howard shows up and realizes what's going on, and then you get these two forces coming together, clashing in that way, and you can see Matt. I like how the whole sequence that is being discussed in this entire episode is kind of an homage to, by the end of this episode, with Matt being like, oh, well, I really lost that one. But he didn't, because Ron eventually takes the sequence out of the movie,
Yeah.
and then threatens Matt and says, if you ever do this to me again, I will fucking destroy you.
Destroyed. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
take it. Take
No,
it.
yeah. Yeah.
And then we even get more ego
Mhm.
occurring with the missing reel, and we another director, Olivia Wilde, who steals a reel. Did you figure out that it was Olivia before, or at what point did you figure out that it was Olivia?
About halfway through, I think I figured it out because um, it was just, I think, yeah, and it was, and whenever when Zac Efron, I couldn't help but like think of Hello, Darling, and also when they were like, given all the, she went full Fincher whenever they were talking with the guy who earlier about the can, as far as the whole perfectionist note, what in the scene, and her, you know just getting that, her, she did the cameo and it was just excellent. So yeah, so I started piecing it together, but I think it was just you know the cool thing about this show is whenever they do, like, set things up, each episode is sort of, is like in this one, it was like playing off the whole, film noir, detective story kind of thing. Matt was kind of like, was stepping in as like Bogey, Humphrey Bogart or something like that. So I just really like the way they sort of set this. It just, set things up organically, uh, not only from the story standpoint, but also from the sets and the wardrobe. I mean, thinking back to, the Warner, um, just that trying to like dress down and ended up looking like, just like just a studio hand, and they didn't realize he was because he got rid of his suit. There's little things like that, are just like the little details that I really appreciate about this show.
Yeah. I I go back and forth on it. Sometimes it comes off as a bit gimmicky to me.
Hmm.
And I don't know why, but it doesn't play as original. I do like how they normalize, like, the idea that, like, you have this sequence in this episode called The Missing Reel, where they cut to Matt in a trench coat and it's voiceover.
Yeah.
And then about 10 seconds later, Sal calls him over and he says something like, "Why are you talking to that voice recorder?" And it's like, "My therapist says whenever I'm going through spinning
Yeah.
out, I have to, like, journal."
Mhm.
So like I can appreciate when they do things like that. But sometimes once I figure out what the gimmick is, then
Yeah.
I'm just like looking for it and it becomes less obvious. That's why I appreciate with the note how there really wasn't that much of a gimmick, and it felt more like something a studio would experience on a regular basis.
Mhm.
Feedback, whether
Mhm.
it's to a director, and it's not like, also, I just want to go back to it and say, like, arguably so, they didn't just choose a new director. It was about giving a note to a director who's so well known as Ron Howard.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it would be like if we actually saw them make the Jamestown movie and he had to give a note up to Martin Scorsese. I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
Like, I think that overall is what I find so fun about this show, is
Yeah.
the cameos.
Mhm.
And
Oh, yeah.
they're not, they're not trying to make this. No, this is clearly Hollywood, and Seth Rogen has so many friends, and that he's getting all of these cameos. And the other thing, that in watching these 3 episodes following last week with the pilot is I am pleasantly surprised that there has been no mention of Kool-Aid in these 3 episodes.
That's right. Yeah.
So, because from the pilot, you think to yourself, "Oh, that's gonna be like maybe the first half of this season or something," but
Mhm.
no,
Mhm.
they like, they're doing a good job, like, that was the premise, and I'm sure we'll get there. I'm sure we'll circle back around to that.
Yeah.
But they have plenty of other projects in the works at various states of being filmed and everything. So, I, um I really think that that was a good choice as well, which leads the like this is still the first season. So
Yeah.
it's you're still creating this world and this dynamic. Um now for the big reveal. Did I laugh at any point? No. I don't know what it is with me in this show. I'm for some reason I like the humor, but I'm not laughing if I'm being honest. I don't know why.
Maybe do you need a laugh track? I mean, I definitely found myself laughing out loud with this show. Obviously, like when Opie when Opie like taunted Matt. I mean, it was just like, damn, bro, Opie's an asshole. But yeah, yeah. I mean, there's definitely you know I think it's for me, it's just really working as a satire because I guess, we both like watch a lot of, we obviously watch a lot of TV, movies and stuff. We both listen the various podcasts about entertainment industry and stuff. So I think for
Mhm.
me, I think that's why it's just like working because it's like all the stuff that like you see like play out on social media or in these discussions that whenever if we're watching like Roca and Jeff Schneider, I'm talking on a hot mic or some of those kind of things like that. It to me is I think that's why it's a satire is just working so well for me.
Yeah.
And I do have those laugh out loud moments. Not saying like I'm like chuckle fest like all 30 or 40 minutes throughout the episode, but
Mhm.
whenever the moments do whenever they hit for me, they hit.
Yeah,
And I'm not
yeah,
saying that they don't hit for you. Like you said, I mean,
right.
maybe it's not, it's just, maybe it's just how we just express ourselves. I mean, because you just said it. I mean, you do find it humorous. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah,
I just for whatever reason, it's like the fact that we all know you've probably cried at more movies than I have.
yeah. I'm just more of a, yeah, I just wear
You're
my emotions on my sleeve.
yeah, yeah, you're much more
Yeah, I'm
you're
more,
much more easy to cry and laugh, and me, I'm much more stubborn and is like, "You're gonna earn this, okay? You don't get this for cheap." But it's just something that I put out there because we don't cover comedies as much as we cover other,
yeah,
like, dramas and especially genre, science fiction, and all of that kind of, fantasy as well.
mhm,
So and arguably, I think comedy is so much harder
yeah,
just because we all a lot of us like, we all grew up with the sitcoms,
mhm,
the
yeah,
30-minute sitcoms, and that is not what this show is.
no, no, it's not.
It's definitely not. However, there is a familiar kind of almost office-y
Yes,
feel about it,
yep,
where I'm glad they didn't go full documentary, but it is a workplace comedy, and so there is that somewhat familiarity there, but also much more modern and current, and as you said, satire about it that brings it all in, and so it's I would say, like, we talk about The Bear, which The Bear is
mhm,
coming back in just a few weeks, and we will get to season 4 eventually. Um, And I the Bear, which I always make fun of Golden Globes because I'm like, it's a dark
It-
comedy, but I'm like, it's not a comedy. It's
yeah,
not.
yeah,
It really because yeah, Cousin is funny and there are a few other like funny doesn't mean comedy. I think the
right.
studio is more of a comedy than Bear is.
Oh yeah, totally, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
it definitely is.
Whenever, yeah, I mean, when it for next cycle of the Emmys, I mean, this show is definitely going to be, will be in the comedy category correctly, and and maybe give oh gosh, what's the show with Gene Smart? That's this
Oh,
film won.
Hacks.
How?
Hacks.
Yeah, Hacks. Yeah. Yeah. This will give probably give finally give Hacks a run for the money.
Well, I mean, Hacks just had it easy. Hacks hasn't been on air for that long. It's what how many seasons is Hacks in?
I think it's second, third.
I think it's 3rd,
Yeah.
which it only won last year because The Bear was out of running because it had a horrible 3rd season.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
So because it's really The Bear that has been sweeping them for the last, like, 2
Yeah.
years in that
Yeah.
category. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah. And I
it
guess
is
yeah.
yeah.
True. Yeah, I was gonna say that, and Abbott Elementary is another one that
Yes,
also.
yeah,
Yeah.
Abbott Elementary is definitely up there. So which I'm glad. I think oversaturation we talk about a lot, and
Mhm.
which I'm sure the studio is gonna reference at some point.
Oh
Have
yeah.
a big thing
Oh yeah.
about
Yeah.
oversaturation,
Oh yeah.
especially in a genre of film and TV that we love to talk about.
Oh,
So
I
I
can't wait for that one. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And then Anthony Starr shows up. That would be great.
Yeah.
'Cause I think there really needs to be a boys cameo. Like,
There
not
needs
a
to be.
full boys
Mhm.
cameo, but just because of the satire of it all.
Yeah. Maybe season 2. Maybe, either Anthony Starr or Eric Kripke or we'll even get, Carl Urban, just show up.
Right. Yeah,
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 those would be the 3 I would like to see.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because
So
Jack Quaid would be too easy, too obvious.
yeah, so that well, they're probably gonna do it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the show has been renewed for a 2nd season,
Yeah, yeah.
so
Whether it wins big awards or not, it's definitely gonna get a 2nd season,
yeah.
but yeah, and we will just next week continue with the next 3 episodes wherever they may take us, and, because you wanted to move the news to the bottom, uh, you have a Last of Us season 3 update.
Yeah, just a real quick one as we wrap up here, with news. So, as we the Last of Us, the showrunners, and Bella were at a FYC event, since we're just talking Emmys and whatnot, and did give us a little update on possible third season. They did confirm that it will be Abby's season,
Yeah,
and yeah, I think Neil Druckmann just basically said this past season was very hot. In this one he said it's going to be like a wetter season. So I don't know what he meant by that, but I guess if obviously it'll be telling the story from Abby's
mhm,
perspective. Um, and he's like it's a quote. It's more of a drink of water season than a fire season. Mazin backed him up. I'm reading from an article from Vulture. It's a wetter season than a hotter season, and anyone who plays video game knows water levels are a pain in the butt. So I haven't played the game, but we'll see. Um, yeah, I'm trying to see if there's any other notes. I mean, basically, they seems like the script hasn't been finished yet, from the FYC from the interview that I'm reading here. So yeah, it's going to be a while before we get to it. But as we suspected. So, but yeah, that was just a little thing I just happened to see today. It was mentioned at their FYC. presentation as they are, ramping up for Emmy nomination season.
Yeah, Pedro's
Yeah.
gonna get nominated.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Probably the show will probably get nominated. I don't think it'll win. It was so
No.
controversial this
Yeah.
season. Nor do I necessarily think it should win. But Pedro will probably win if depending on like what the competition is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I expect him to be nominated and potentially win. Yeah, wow, that was a
Yeah.
massive, like, big giveaway. Had no idea that it would be Abby's season next. Like,
Well, yeah.
shocking.
Well, shocking, not shocking for folks who have played the game, but for folks who never have
No.
played the game,
No,
maybe
you
maybe.
you can't say that because you know that if
Yeah.
you haven't played the game and you've watched this show and you're obsessed with this show, or
Yeah.
even if this season you have talked to people like Will, you yourself spoiled yourself with some stuff.
Yeah.
Like you, like, no, no, no. By the
Yeah.
end of that, anybody, regardless, it's pretty much you have to be very low intellect to not
Yeah.
realize what's
Yeah. True,
happening.
true. But the main reason why I brought it up when I saw the article today, I really brought it up because I thought back to our conversation about the show a few weeks
Yeah.
ago, and
Will hate season 2.
yeah, it's well, I was think more to the point how I really your call I think was going to be correct where that they should have done Abby's story season 2 and then
Yep.
yeah. And that's why I brought that up today because I was just like when I saw that I was like I just wanted to get it on the record just like that. I think you're right that I said it maybe I may have said it a couple weeks back, but definitely just wanted to reiterate that you're right. I think when all is said and done, we'll whenever we look back on this series, um, we'll say that they made a misstep by not having Abby's story first in season 2.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's I think that's arguably regardless of how season 3 even goes, but I see why they did it. They just for whatever reason, they made so many more creative choices in season 1.
Hmm.
That for some reason, they stuck way too much to the script in season 2,
Hmm.
and there was arguably not as much creativity, which led to kind of a
Yeah.
and arguably, the first game had less of a controversial opinion. It's more beloved than the second game. So
Yeah.
you would have thought they would have made more creative choices with the second game considering the feedback that the game players had.
Hmm.
So I don't know, but then again, I mean at the end of the day, the creatives behind this show and this game like they are really I'm not saying they are stupid. They are very creative and very talented people.
Yeah.
I just don't know why they didn't make some choices that they did. And once you think about it and realize how this could have gone if they had just swapped the perspectives, like it arguably it could make a better story, but we shall see. We're still on board with it. It's just
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and who knows, this
Just
hiatus, the fact that the 3rd season hasn't even been fully written, I'm like, "What are you guys doing?" You
yeah.
had
Yeah.
so much
Yeah.
time to write
Yeah.
seasons 2 and 3.
And yeah, and Kate Devers like engaged. She's filming a Godzilla movie right now. So so it's gonna yeah. So again, it'll be like 2030 by the time we get the 3rd season.
Oh, no, no, that's when the next Spider-Man across the universe or beyond the universe we're gonna get season 3 of The Last of Us before that. Trust
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, on that note, Will, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me on all the socials at Will and Polk, WILLMPOLK.
And you can find me there too at SJ Belmont, SJBELMONT. Please follow our crew on Twitter at Scene and Nerd, on Blue Sky, on friend us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Threads at Scene _N_nerd, and visit our website www.sceneandnerdpodcast.com. But most importantly, rate, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Good night, Geek Out. You're welcome.